welcome back to Room 237, and I am wrapping up my series of reviews for the Child's Play slash Chucky franchise. And I didn't really do this intentionally, it just kind of happened, but in a way, I've saved the best for last. This is the one I'm most familiar with, and when I decided to do this franchise review, I went through and watched all the ones I was more unfamiliar with first, just to kind of refresh myself, even though I did watch this one first, because it might be my favorite. It's tied with the first, because there are things about the first that I do love very much. But this is probably the only slasher franchise, or even horror franchise, certainly slasher, where a sequel is actually, in my opinion, tied for first place, favorite place, with the original. And it is the first sequel, 1990's Child's Play 2. This is as iconic Chucky as it gets. And this is my favorite cover of any of the Chucky films. I mean, this is just 1990s personified. It makes me think of 90s, early 90s video store trips, seeing stuff like this on the shelf as a young kid, always being like, okay, I don't know what those are, but that looks scary. This is my favorite look for Chucky. This is my favorite Brad Dourif performance of Chucky. I may say by default that Cuckoo's Nest is my favorite Brad Dourif performance overall, but as far as voicing Chucky, this is Brad Dourif at 200%. And as far as horror roles, like where he really just puts it all out there and you can just feel his voice in your throat, this is up there with Exorcist 3. I'd probably put this above Exorcist 3. But this is the perfect Child's Play film, in my opinion. Yes, there are things about the original I still love dearly. I do love the build-up. I do love how a lot of Chucky scenes are either POV or seeing like the top of his head behind something, or hearing the pitter-patter of his feet, or seeing his hands. It's all build up to the perfect reveal where he just snaps on Andy's mom. Here though, and they really know how to make a sequel. A sequel, when made perfectly, should feel like a good double feature along with the original. And this one picks right up where the first one left off. This one doesn't have any build up for Chucky. As soon as he's alive, which is in the very beginning, he is on camera in full glory and ready to go all the way until the end. And it's a great story. It doesn't quite feel like a retread of the first one. And as far as slasher sequels go, I would say I like this more than some of my other favorites, like Halloween 2, the first one, Friday 13th 2 and 4. I don't really have a favorite of, like Elm Street or Chainsaw Massacre, because I'm not the biggest fans of them as franchises. But also, Alex Vincent, probably one of the best child actor performances of any horror film. He's a lot stronger and more colorful in this than he was in the first film. And you pretty much have the same crew from the original. Only you don't have Tom Holland, the great Tom Holland, co-writing and directing the film. It was actually directed by John LaFia, who was a co-writer of the original with Don Mancini and Tom Holland. This is the first one where Don Mancini wrote solo. I mean, the first film had LaFia and Holland co-writing, but here it's Mancini writing by himself, as I think, pretty sure he would for the rest of the series, and this is his strongest writing. There's not one moment that's just like, oh, why'd you put that in there, or that's fucking stupid. And this is actually the shortest out of all the sequels, because originally there was going to be a scene where Catherine Hicks and Susan Sarandon were going to return as Andy's mom and Detective Mike. And Andy's mom was going to be found insane for saying Chucky's alive, but due to budgetary constraints, they had to scrap it. I guess it was shot though, and I know there's a Blu-ray of this out, and if the deleted scene is there, I would love to see it. But I believe this was also the first one to have Graham Revel. Yeah, first one to have Graham Revel scoring the film. This has my favorite score out of any of the Child's Play films. It's like a mix of that big, over-the-top, kind of Harry Manfredini, Friday the 13th score, and that childish music box kind of score that's both effective and creepy. Especially during the a Mrs. Kettlewell scene, which is probably my, next to the third act in the Toy Factory, probably the best scene out of the whole movie. Other than Alex Vincent, you have Jenny Agutter, who was in American Werewolf in London. Garrett Graham, who's been in a lot of movies. First one that comes to mind is he was the first one to be killed in Chopping Mall. Christine Elise and Grace Zabriskie, who I believe Grace Zabriskie was Kettlewell. No, that was Beth Grant. Who the hell is... Oh, Grace Poole. She's the orphanage director. And kind of like Halloween 4 and 5, this was a big hit. So 3 came out 9 months later. But yeah, everything about this movie is so incredibly solid. I mean, also, like, with Chucky, the only thing that, like, other slasher movies, you gotta watch them get resurrected, or something has to happen. With Chucky, he's just gotta be rebuilt. And it's kind of playing into the whole social commentary about consumerism and children's toys. Here is just about the Play Pals company trying to cover up the bad PR that they got about the killer doll. So they retrieved the charred, burnt, messed up Chucky doll from the first film, completely rebuild him. They're looking for like a voice box that some jerk might have put in there to scare a kid. And as soon as he's done being rebuilt, he comes back to life. And right from there, Chucky is on screen, and there's no mystery as to how he's doing things or why, or is he or isn't he. And also, this is the best looking Chucky, probably the best of animatronics. Even as the films go on and the budgets get bigger, there are some scenes where you can tell it's a person in a suit, and it looks kind of wonky. Here, Chucky looks great every time. And it has, in my opinion, the best articulation of emotion and mouth movements with the dialogue. He finds out who adopted Andy, which Andy's kind of in a place now where he's still haunted by Chucky, but with the help of psychologists and the orphanage, Charles Lee Ray and everything is sort of something he made up. It's like a dream to kind of cope with all these deaths. And he's adopted by Jenny Agutter and Garrett Graham. Jenny Agutter is a very sweet, kind woman. Garrett Graham, Phil, I wonder if this is the start of having the completely insufferable asshole character that you're just waiting to get killed. If so, it's him, because he is just intolerant with Andy. He has no patience, and willing to let Andy tear the family apart. There's an older teenage girl there named Kyle, who, and I don't think she went on to act in much of anything. Christine Elise, 90210, and then the Chucky films that she was in. All right, she's a good character for Andy. she gives her backstory that every time she got settled into a home, they sent her away. She can't count on anyone, doesn't trust anyone. But every time I see it, just part of me is like, well, if you're going to be an asshole kid, they're going to send you away. Like, the first time we see her, she's trying to sneak smokes in the bedroom. But whatever. So she kind of sees Andy as this kid that's alone, that no one understands, and they start a good relationship. Chucky finds his way there, gets rid of the good guy doll that's already there. He sits in, and people start being killed off, and it's awesome. It is so much fun. This is definitely, as much as I might love the original, I would say this one is definitely more entertaining. This one is definitely more, fast-paced, more going on, more Chucky, more kills. Definitely has more entertainment and probably rewatch value. What's also very creepy is the setting. Harold and Joanne. Their house is almost like a creepy dollhouse. And every time I watch it, I think about that bedroom that Alex is locked in towards the end of Clockwork Orange. It just has this off vibe to it. Like, where the walls are pink, the wood is all like this turquoise color. There's all these, very fancy, tacky, old school furniture, all these porcelain collectibles everywhere. It just has this very, almost like scary grandma's house almost, and it works perfectly, especially in contrast to the like Harlem high rise, or not Harlem. Was it Harlem or was it Chicago? I can't remember. A high rise right in the middle of the city, so it's a good contrast to that. And the only thing it kind of retreads is the whole Chucky did it and no one believing him. But it feels different because it's a foster family. It's not his own family. He's already in an unfamiliar home and setting. I believe this movie is the one that really established Chucky as kind of the vulgar one-liner guy that could rival Freddy, and in my opinion is better at it than Freddy. That iconic maniacal laugh that I think is better than Freddy's. When he kills the guy in the beginning, when he gets taken out of the factory, when he buries the other good guy doll at the foster home, he's just cackling and just having a good time. And I think this movie really established that he is just this maniacal laughing killer. There's also some good technical aspects. Chucky, who's only like 2.5 feet tall, when he kills Miss Kettlewell, the school teacher, is one of probably my favorite kill out of the entire series. He rides under the school bus, Cape Fear style, takes it to Andy's school. During recess, he writes "fuck you, bitch" on Andy's schoolwork. So he's held after for a detention, and then he's alone. But the teacher locks Miss Kettlewell, who is a bitch in many movies. Donnie Darko, No Country for Old Men, Little Miss Sunshine. She locks him in a closet. And I love this scene because I love Brad Dourif's voice. And I just love how angry, vulgar Chucky is my favorite Chucky. He's like banging on the door, rattling the doorknob. He's like, "Please, Andy, let me out of here. If you let me out, I won't kill anyone again." And then like the door stops, and then you just see it. He's like, "Open the goddamn door! Let me out of here, you little dick! Let me the fuck out!" When Miss Kettlewell comes in, he gets her with like a volleyball pump, and then again 2.5 feet tall. But the way they shoot him, makes him look imposing. It's this low upward shot of him just walking towards her, and you get that creepy children's music box score. He's got this yardstick. He's like, "You've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell." And just the way the camera's looking upwards, and he's just like walking towards her. It just, you hear that whoosh, whoosh, as he beats her to death with the yardstick. And I also like how with each hit, the camera pans out further from the window, and you just see that yardstick kind of best kill. We see Phil getting more and more irritated with Andy and his claims. But I really, Alex Vincent is a much stronger actor in this one. And you even see how far he's willing to go to appear normal. Like when he thinks Chucky is Tommy, the first one that was there. And he's willing to hold on to it and play with it to look like he's overcome his fear of the doll. I even like the scene where he checks for batteries and batteries are in there. He's like, and then you finally get the scene where Phil sees that Chucky is alive, walking down the cellar because he hears Andy down there. And there's a, I don't know what kind of hook it was. It looked like some kind of mooring hook. Grabs his foot from beneath the stairs and he's hanging upside down. And this might be the first one to really show a naysayer's reaction to seeing Chucky is alive. And that's been one of my favorite parts throughout this whole series, is the biggest naysayer is seeing their reaction when they actually see him. And Phil's reaction when he sees Chucky alive is awesome. Get that one-liner that's like, "How's it hanging, Phil?" He just lets him go, snaps his neck, kills Jenny and Gunner off screen. But I thought that was a very creepy scene because, again, just that creepy grandma's house setting, her nightgown, and she's at this old school, loud sewing machine. Kyle just approaches her, turns her around, she's dead. Chucky then takes Kyle aside as hostage to find Andy, which he's at the orphanage. Chucky kills back at the orphanage, kills the director, where she's holding on to him, and I love how he's like, "Amazing, isn't it?" Stabs her, and I love Chucky's reaction, like, "Snap out of it! You're acting like you've never seen a dead body before." And then there's the chase. And some people have said this is kind of convenient. I don't think it is. So you have Kyle in her car, Chucky and Andy in the back of a newspaper truck, which happens to be going by the Happy Pals toy factory. I didn't find that convenient. Also, when Chucky's originally in the car with Kyle, I love when Chucky sort of shows that there's something wrong with him without actually killing people, almost like a fuck you to that person. She gets pulled over, and he's like, "Oh, it's one of those good guys. Hey, what's your name, buddy?" And he's just like, "Chucky," instead of doing his good guy voice. And when they get to the Play Pals toy factory, just the setting and just the whole climax, literally, this is the best act out of the entire franchise. And it's kind of been a running gag how every time Chucky goes to do the Dembala incantation, he's cut off or interrupted. Here he gets to do the whole thing, and then there's that good kind of fake out where we see Andy just kind of, and you're wondering like, oh my god, it worked. But then blood drips on him from Chucky's nose, and he realizes it's too late, and he lets out that great scream. And again, Brad Dourif, his voice performance is 200%. I mean, every time he's screaming or yelling, whether it's in pain, anger, or he's actually saying something, you can just feel the vibrations in your throat. He is just giving it his all. And from here on, I mean, the whole movie he's kind of been unleashed, but now he's got nothing to lose. Earlier in the film, I mean, he couldn't fuck around too much. He has a time mission. Or he's on a mission where time's a factor. But now he knows he's stuck as this doll forever. And he is just completely unhinged. And he is just royally pissed off. And he just starts coming at Andy and Kyle with everything he's got. And he gets more fucked up in this movie. Like, in the first one, yeah, he gets burnt and then shot to a bunch of pieces. But, I mean, here, and I don't know if it's because he knows he can take more damage than a living person, or if he's just so angry and out for blood that he doesn't care. I mean, this thing comes down on his hand, and he has to, like, rip his arm off. He takes his knife, takes the handle off, and I love the scene where he, like, shoves the stump onto the handle, so he's got like a sort of a mini Ash Evil Dead chainsaw hand. But I love the part where it's like he's hesitant. Even with the puppeteering and the Kevin Yeager animatronic that is so strong in this movie. How he's just kind of like, he just does it, and that scream and pain he lets out. And I just love that part where he's just like, I hate kids. And then, like, his legs get messed up, but he's, like, nailed down to this board with wheels so he can still pull himself around. He's left on this conveyor belt that goes up into this box that puts all the legs and limbs onto a doll. And I like how it doesn't show it, but you can hear his screams and see all the levers going in. And you know it's messing him up. There's blood everywhere. But he still comes after. He's still in that wheelie thing. And his limbs are all messed up. He's got more parts onto him. But he's right underneath this vat of dripping, scalding plastic that Andy just opens and douses him. Only for him to leap out again at Kyle. Get a hose put in his mouth and his head explodes. I mean, he gets more messed up in this one than any other one. And I love how he just keeps coming back. I mean, it was kind of like in the first one because he just wants to put his soul into Andy. Here, he just keeps coming back because he failed his mission and he just wants to kill this kid. And it's just one of the most entertaining, fun third acts of any horror movie, especially a slasher film. Definitely slasher sequel. And definitely a Child's Play film. And some of the other kills, I mean, there's a worker at the toy factory who's knocked down to the eyeball inserter. So you see this thing come down, put eyeballs in. And just such a fun movie. All the acting, very solid. Alex Vincent is much stronger in this film than he was the first one. And ones that would come. Brad Dourif, even the sequels where he's not that great, you know, like Seed of Chucky, where he just sounds kind of bored. Here, you can just tell he is there to give Chucky life. The best Chucky voice performance, the best look of Chucky, the best puppeteering and animatronics of Chucky's. I love the sort of quasi-revenge story. It's like they're both kind of getting revenge on each other. Love the score by Graham Revel, especially the more creepy music box elements. Love that creepy Clockwork Orange bedroom, creepy grandma's house, creepy dollhouse type setting. Kyle is a very strong supporting character as well. And, I mean, I just love that cover. This is one of my favorite horror covers, one of my favorite 90s covers. Definitely the most entertaining of the entire series. And yeah, while there are elements of the original that I still love very, very much, just with how entertaining and just the best of Chucky with this one. It's either tied with the original, or I would just have to say this one is my favorite. I'm not sure, but I figured I'd save the best for last. And so that's my review of all the Chucky films, all the Child's Play films. This is where it's at. This is to me, regardless of what one is my favorite or the best, I have to say this is the definitive Chucky movie. If you could tell anyone to sit down and watch just one Chucky movie, it would have to be this one. This is Chucky at his best. I love this movie to death. So much fun. And that concludes the series. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.